Let's look at this question on redox reactions. When a piece of aluminium is placed in a copper sulfate solution, the reaction takes place producing copper metal during the reaction. Write the half reaction to show how aluminium acts as the reducing agent. Let's first write the reaction. We have aluminium metal that reacts with copper sulfate. Let's just check how did we write this reaction. Copper is a transition metal with a charge of 2 plus, and sulfate is an ion with a charge of 2 minus. Since the charges are the same, we get copper sulfate. This is the compound CuSO4. It formed copper metal and aluminium sulfate. Aluminium is a group 3 metal with a charge of 3 plus. Sulfate is an ion with a charge of 2 minus. Since the charges are not the same, we swap them. Therefore, the compound that forms is aluminium 2 SO4 3 as shown below. Once we now have the equation, we now need to look at the oxidation numbers. Using your oxidation rules, you will see that aluminium has an oxidation of 0. Copper is, if we want to work out for copper sulfate, we know that oxygen is -2, but there's 4 of them, so that's -8. We also know that sulfate is found in group 6, so the charge is +6. And copper is equal to, this has to equal to 0, so copper's charge will be +2. Copper on the product side has a oxidation number of 0. Aluminium 2 sulfate. We know that oxygen has a charge of -2 times 4 times 3. This gives us -24. We also know that sulfate has a charge of +6 times 3 gives us +18. And then in order for this to equal 0, aluminium has a charge of 3 plus, and we know there's 2 aluminiums, so we get +6. Now that we have the oxidation numbers, we can now check what is being oxidized and what is being reduced. So, aluminium goes from 0 to +6. That means it loses electrons. When electrons are lost, that means oxidation takes place. We know this because of our acronyms OIL RIG. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gained. So the aluminium goes through oxidation, it is then the reducing agent. We now look at the sulfates. The sulfates do not really react in the equation. Sulfate is found here and here. Copper is also reacting in the reaction. It goes from +2 to Cu. That means it gained electrons. When something gains electrons, it is going through reduction. So let's now try to write the half reactions. Aluminium is going through oxidation, so it loses electrons from aluminium to Al3+. If we have to write the half reaction to show how copper acts as the oxidizing agent, we know that copper gains 2 electrons to form Cu. When something is going through reduction, there's a gain of electrons. When something is going through oxidation, there is a loss of electrons. Therefore, our oxidizing agent is Al and our reducing agent is Cu2+. Question C says, write the equation for the net reaction taking place. This is easy. We now have the reduction half reaction and the oxidation half reaction. We write them together. In order to find the net reaction, we need to ensure that the electrons are equal to each other and therefore can be excluded from the equation. So, to make aluminium equal to 6 electrons, we multiply this equation by 2. To make copper 2 plus 2 electrons C to E reacting to form copper, we need to multiply this equation by 3. That way, we now have 2 aluminium and 2 Al3 plus and 6 electrons. In the next one, we will have 3 Cu2 plus, 6 electrons and 3 copper. Now that we have equal number of electrons, these electrons can be removed from the equation. Therefore, our final answer for the net equation is 2Al plus 3Cu2 plus reacts to form 2Al3 plus and 3Cu. The last question is, what is the spectator ion? Remember, a spectator ion is an ion that does not react or change or break down in the equation. Sulfate is still present in the reactants and still present in the products. It was not broken down or built up during the reaction. It did not participate in the reaction. Therefore, our spectator ion is SO4 2-.